what I got to say you really don't want to hear, because honesty ain't too high up on your priority list, right?
Honesty? You want honesty?
Oh, yeah, it's that time again. It's Tim with our Line Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. It's just one of those days. Oh, it's after the Cowboy loss. It was one of those games. It was another one. It was another ugly game to watch. It got better in the second half. But, you know, being there and seeing everything, it probably looked better on TV than it was in person. Want to give our condolences, of course, to Sterling Shepard, who is likely out with a season-ending injury. Of course, it happened on the last offensive player of the game. He kind of just fell to the turf. It was non-contact. It was just one of those things that it's one of those things that happens. It's one of those things that, you know, it just happens, and it's just interesting, and it's just, you feel bad for the kid because, you know, to me it looked like it was an Achilles again, and if it was, or maybe it was somewhere in the calf or something, but it's one of those injuries that you just don't want to see. It's not the turf. Let's not blame the turf. Let's not go that direction again, because the Jets play in the same stadium as we do. But we have to give our condolences, because, you know, Shep has been a consummate professional. He's worked through his injuries. He's worked through his problems. He's worked through everything to get back on the field. And if there's one person that deserves the opportunity to continue to play and to continue to hone his craft, it's Sterling Shepard. He's been the quiet giant, and I think that's the way he should be remembered for his career, that he gave his heart, he gave his intensity, because I think this is probably it for him. It could be a knee injury. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate until we get some word, but I do probably think this is going to be the end of, maybe for his career with the Giants, but it can potentially be his career for, his entire career. But you know, we have to just look, and we have to just see where this goes. It was a game yesterday, though. It's the 23-16 loss. It was a game that, you know, it was sloppy on both ends. And people are going to talk about Daniel Jones and the drop passes and not having time to throw in the pocket and blah, 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 blah. We're going to get into that. But there was just as many mistakes on the Dallas Cowboys side as there were on the Giants side. You can't sit there and say, well, we had all these drop passes. Yeah, Dallas had drop passes for touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb could still be running he was wide open. He just dropped it. So, I mean, and the penalties alone for the Cowboys, there were some ticky-tack fouls against Dallas that I didn't understand, that didn't make sense, that you kind of just shook your head about a little bit. But, you know, and the Giants had penalties as well, and they had drop passes as well. But it was one of those things that it was just, if you take a look at it from a logistical standpoint, this is the kind of game that we're probably going to see all year with the Giants. 100%. This is what we're going to see all year. There are going to be ugly games. There's going to be moments where it's going to be terrible, and there's going to be moments that it's going to look good. And that's what we're going to have to kind of look at it. If you want to talk about some problems, we got to talk about the offense. We got to talk about the play calling, because I'm still not getting the play calling. I'm still not getting. Now, DeMarcus Russell basically abused Evan Neal. He allowed 3 sacks. But I don't understand why the Giants didn't go to a more of a max protect. You know, throwing in a running back to chip block a little bit, throwing in a tight end. I don't get that. I really don't get that. Because of the fact that you see he's having problems. Now, we did see it once in a while in the game, but you could have easily gone to max protect and helped the kid out, which then in turn will help Daniel Jones out. And we're going to get to Daniel Jones, because I keep seeing these people like, well, he was a gutty performance, and his performance, if you take a look at it statistically, has gotten worse each week. But we're going to get into that. We're going to get into the offensive line. We're going to get into all that. But I don't understand. Also, I don't get the apprehension from the Kafka in regards to running Saquon Barkley early. I don't get it. You are running him more for 3 games in a row now. The majority of Saquon Barkley's yards and carries have come in the second half. You have a defense, and I have to give Dallas credit for their defense. I did not think Dallas's defense was going to be this good. I really didn't. I knew they had components on this team, and I knew they had a good defensive line, but I did not foresee them being this good. But there were moments that if you are worried about their over-aggressiveness in reference to going after Daniel Jones, why not just run some delayed handoffs? Why not run some draws? Why not just do a couple swing passes? Why not just grind it out a little bit? I've talked about this before. If the Giants were going to win this game, it was going to have to be winning through attrition and winning through hanging onto the ball longer, having time of possession. And Dallas dominated the time of possession. And I also, like I said, and I'm not calling out Dable, but his decision to burn that fourth quarter timeout on that 4th and 4, I don't get that. I didn't get it. I mean, Dallas completed the pass and was given the first down. I don't get it, but that's all right. And then not throwing the red challenge flag after the next snap when Lamb dropped, when Lamb was dropped by Belton. I thought he was short on another to go, but I mean, he got a decision from his headset saying don't use the timeout. And I understand you reach that point in time, you don't want to take the opportunity and the chance to throw that flag and be wrong and lose the timeout. So I get that. That's nitpicking. But a guy that's been a gambler so much, he kind of, I'm not going to say he went in the tank a little bit, but some of the things that he did were interesting. Interesting to say the least. Now, we also want to talk about the defense. The defense, the defense is against the run has steadily been getting worse. It really has. It's been interesting because at times the pass defense has been better than the run defense. The Cowboys average 6.4 yards a carry, and there people are going to say, "Well, that's because of Leonard Williams." No, you also had Christian McCaffrey running wild on them before that as well, but we just got it in the wind. We got it in the wind column, so it didn't matter. I've said this a million times before. I am worried about the interior of the line, but now I'm worried more about the outside edge because of the fact that the linebackers are having issues containing the edge. And I'm not going to blame Kayvon Thibodeau, and I'm not going to blame, Azeez Ojulari, because these guys were on a. I said it before that they were probably going to have them on a pitch count. I said on the Monday video before we got into this that they would probably have them on a pitch count. What they did, but we're going to need to figure out how to maintain the edge. Because people are going to talk about, not having Leonard Williams, but Leonard Williams doesn't play on the outside. Leonard Williams, the last, 4.5 quarters before he got hurt, was playing over the nose tackle because they moved him from outside, from the outside back to the inside. But I just find it, peculiar. They're starting to, the defenses now are starting to attack the edge. Tony Pollard looked good. Ezekiel Elliott, who I'm never gonna like Ezekiel Elliott, but he is what he is. He got his touchdown. Cooper Rush only threw for 215, but he completed darts on 4th and 4. And he had that nice touchdown fade on the same drive. Quarterback rating of 98.2. We had 0 takeaways, 0 sacks, 0 pressure. Dory Jackson was on CeeDee Lamb, and he allowed 8 catches for 87 yards and a touchdown. It could have been worse. It should have probably been 9 catches for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns. Thank God he dropped it. That's all I'm saying. Thank God he dropped it. And again, our offense relied on Graham Gano. We had this. It was shocking to see him get his 47-yard field goal attempt blocked. It is. Like I said, it's. We can't not keep relying on Graham Gano. We can't. He did come back and made a 42, 51, and 51 again. Once our special teams allowed Turbin to have that big fourth quarter return. The defense held. They went up 23-13. But here's what I think about the defense. I think the defense played well enough to win. The problem is if you don't want, and I've said this before, if you don't maintain time of possession on this Giants offense, your defense is going to be in trouble because we do have a lot of holes on the defense that can be exposed. And no matter what schemes or what exotic packages that the Wink puts in, at one point in time, you are going to get exposed. And that's what happened because of the fact that we are just our offense is not staying on the field long enough. Now, I know the O-line is taking the blame for a rough night for Daniel Jones. They're saying, and they say this loss is on us up front. No, it's not. You were part of the problems. He took 5 sacks, hit 12 times, and he was pressured 40 points 5 times on his drop back. Okay, that's going to happen. That's going to happen in the NFL. There are plenty of quarterbacks who are under duress and under pressure who complete passes, who look down the field, who don't check down. It was a bad performance by the offensive line. And I'm not going to sit there and put this blame on Daniel Jones because it's not all of his fault. There's plenty of fault to go around. But the problem is you cannot keep saying that everything needs to be perfect for Daniel Jones for this team to win. That can no longer be said. Going into this game, and this is one of the things I want to talk about. Going into this game, if you take a look at what they refer to it as, and like I said, these are more stats used by fans, but there's a stat called the PKT time, which is the average time in seconds between the snap and throwing the ball, or before when pressure comes up. Now that's how long you hold the ball in the pocket. That's how long. Daniel Jones going into this game held on to the ball the longest in the league in 3 games. He held on the ball almost 3 seconds. Now he dropped down to 5 at 2.7 seconds right now. So that's telling me, yes, you want to equate pressure, but you also need to look at the fact that he's still if he's under pressure, if he's under duress, he cannot continuously to hold on to the ball consistently. He can't. He can't do that because of the fact that if you are under pressure and you are under duress, you need to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible and get it out of your hands and make those quick decisions. The problem is he's not checking down fast enough because he's not looking down the field fast enough. And we've pointed it out before, and I haven't gone through this game film yet, but people have pointed out in the first 2 games that he's had people open downfield. He just doesn't see them. We cannot keep stalling in drives once we hit into this is the same problems we've had with him for the last 3 years. You cannot have your drive stall when you hit the 20. You can't when you get inside the 20. You cannot have your drive just stall. You have to find a way to get the ball in the end zone. And this is where I get a little upset because this is where I feel that we should be using Saquon Barkley more. And I've said this before, the Giants should be a running team. The Giants shouldn't be using the pass to set up the run. This team, it needs to be exactly the opposite. They need to be using the run to set up the pass. And especially if you know they're having offensive line issues, you can then take advantage of the over-aggressiveness of the team's pass rush. Or the opponent's pass rush. You can then take advantage of that. And I don't see halftime adjustments. This is the other thing that slightly concerns me about the offense. We have really truly yet to see the offense adjust in the second half to what the other team is doing. Now, I don't know if that's a Kafka issue. I don't know if that's a Dable issue. I have a feeling that Dable is more involved in this than anyone else. I have a feeling as that as well. I do. I have that just kind of runs through my mind. Now, right now, Daniel Jones is third in the league with sacked 13 times. The people ahead of him are Joe Burrows and Carson Wentz. But it's funny that both Wentz and Burrows have thrown for more yards and more touchdowns. So, like I said, you can blame, like I said, yes, the offensive line was porous yesterday, 100%, 1,000%. But the quarterback still has to take some blame. I have never, and I've said this a million times before, I have never seen this before. I really have. I have lived through the Phil Simms years. I lived through all the Eli Manning years. I lived through the Kerry Collins years. Hell, I lived through Craig Morton. Phil Simms at times had a problem holding on the ball too long as well, which caused a lot of his injuries, which frustrated the fan base ad nauseum. Eli Manning was, like I said, I was never one of the guys that jumped on Eli Manning's throat because Eli Manning to me showed a progression each year. He kind of, before 2007, going into 2007, he kind of, I think he kind of plateaued. But again, he was a guy that he may have held on to the ball a little too long, but he still tried to make plays happen. I'm not seeing this with Daniel Jones. I'm not seeing that you have 1:50 left. You have the ball. It's time for a moment.
It was great, huh? Your fastball's up, your curveball's hanging. I'm sure they would have ripped you.
Can't you even let me enjoy the moment?
The moment's over.
And the problem is with Daniel Jones, we're not seeing the moment. We're not seeing it. We have the game on the line. Now, listen, everyone's going to say that David Sills slipped. 100%. David Sills did slip. Here's the problem, though. If you look at where David Sills slipped and where the ball ended up, Daniel Jones had a clean pocket, and I don't think Sills was going to make that turn on that route. The velocity that Daniel Jones threw the ball, if we're going to be honest. A quarterback in this league needs to have moments. You have to have a feeling. I always had a feeling when Eli Manning had the ball with under 2 minutes left that we were going to win the game. When Daniel Jones has the ball with under 2 minutes left and we're down by 6 or down by 7, I always feel we're going to lose. I've never had that moment in the last now 3+ seasons.
Great moments are born from great opportunity.
And he has Daniel Jones has been given opportunities, but you cannot consistently blame. You cannot consistently blame everyone else but Daniel Jones. You can't. You cannot consistently blame him. I mean, he cannot consistently be without blame. And again, I've never seen anything like this in my entire time watching the Giants. And it's dumbfounding. Because if you look at Daniel, and again, we want to look at passing. Daniel Jones right now passes 10+ yards. The league leader is Jalen Hurts with 40 passes for 10+ yards. Daniel Jones, as you want to count, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Daniel Jones is 22nd in the league with only 22. Passes for 20+ yards. Russell Wilson leads the league right now. Where is Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones is almost at the bottom. Passes for 30+ yards. 30+ yards. Deep ball passing. These are 30+ yards. These are passes completed for 30+ yards. Daniel Jones is at the bottom. Are we not seeing a problem here? We're not. He is not. He's the low 20s for passing attempts. The attempts the ball that travels at least 10 yards. Think about that for a second. Passing attempts that travel 10+ yards. Daniel Jones is almost at the bottom of the league. We're looking at most starting quarterbacks are in the 30s or high 20s. Daniel Jones is 22. There is a problem. Now, if you want to look at other stats, which I love these stats, the other stats are going to be the amount of time the ball travels in the air, because they got stats for everything. And I love all these stat websites. But the amount of time that the ball travels in the air, Jameis Winston leads the league with Tua and with Tua right now at 5.7 to 5.8. Daniel Jones, if we take a look at that, passes that travel in the air, he's at the bottom at 3.3. Are we not seeing an issue? Because everyone loves stats, and I am showing people stats. I am showing people the stats. If you want to go into hurries, Kyler Murray's been hurried 21 times. Daniel Jones is like 8 in the league in hurries. If you want to go to blitzes, Daniel Jones, if you look at the amount of times he was blitzed or has been a full-out blitz, he again is in the middle of the pack. If you want to go to knockdowns, Daniel Jones is in the top 10. Yes. But there's other problems here besides the offensive line. Now, listen, I am not a big fan of the wide receivers. I've said this a million times. You cannot have a wide receiving core. I feel bad for Daniel Jones in retrospect that you cannot have a wide receiving core of David Sills and Richie James. Yes, I know Kenny G had the drops. I know that. But you know what the thing is? It's one of those things, and this is what people do not understand. This is what I call novice do not understand about professional athletes. If you sit on the bench for an extended period of time, and then all of a sudden, and your skill is catching something or hitting something, sometimes you are a little bit rusty. Sometimes you need to be in the ebony flow of the game. And that's what bothers me sometimes. Now, I'm going to say this now. Like I said, it's one loss. It's not the end of the world. Some Giant fans, it's already the end of the world. And again, I always think of it.
You can do it! Oh, no! We suck again!
It's not time to jump. Some of these people are already flinging themselves off the bridge. It's one game. We're 2-1. It's one game. We got a winnable game against the Bears. The Bears have a good defense, but their offense mirrors the Giants' offense. All I'm going to say this this is what I'm going to say to Kafka. You got to find the way to get Saquon Barkley more involved. You have to get more touches for Saquon Barkley. You do. You have to figure out a way to stop putting the game in Daniel Jones's hands. You kind of have to take it away from him. And it's not that it's an indictment against Daniel Jones, but you cannot throw the ball 37 times and only run Barkley 14 times. Barkley had 18 touches. I have said this in multitudes of videos before. Saquon Barkley needs minimum, if the Giants are to win games and be competitive in games, he needs to have at least 25 touches a game, if not more. He had 18. And it's not like he wasn't finding opportunities through the defense. He had 18 touches to 37 passes for Daniel Jones. Stop the madness. Herman Munster. Go watch the old Munster show. One of my favorite episodes is when he sits there at one point in time and goes, run, run, run. That's what the Giants need to do. Run, run, run. I'm not upset about the loss. I'm not. I'm truly not upset with the loss. I am more upset with the fact I'm watching the David Sills plays. That was even if David Sills does not slip, that was a bad throw. It was still 4 yards away from where he slipped. He threw the ball with such velocity. All I'm going to say is I am not upset that the Giants lost. You knew they were going to lose. I'm more upset with the manner of the loss. I'm more upset with the fact that you are putting and I love it because I love it. Dable says, well, we're seeing progression with Daniel Jones. Of course, what do you think he's going to say, guys? What do you think he's going to say? We're already scouting quarterbacks for 2023. Troy Aikman had the best line of the night. Because Jack Buck or Joe Buck, whatever the hell his name is, Jack Buck, I think it was, said, the Giants are still trying to figure out what they're going to do. What is it talking about over here? They're still sitting there. I love it because he goes, we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do with Daniel Jones. The Giants are still trying to figure out what they're doing with Daniel Jones. And Troy Aikman says they've already decided what they're doing with Daniel Jones. They need to pick up the fifth-year option. He's playing for a contract outside of New York. That's what they're doing. Boy, this video ran a lot longer than I thought it was going to. We're gonna have a lot of fun coming up. We're gonna do a lot of fun stuff. It was fun. It was great to be on the field yesterday. I was one of the guys holding the flags. They wouldn't let you film it on the field, so that sucked. But big kudos for the Giants for allowing season ticket holders to do that. Big shout out, big kudos to the Giants for that. We got a winnable game against the Bears. I'm gonna be there on Sunday with Big El Gigante. Rain, sleet, or snow, because it's supposed to rain. We're going to have a lot of fun shows coming up this week. Hopefully we'll have some more information on Sterling Shepard. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best New York Giants sports talk entertainment. And as always, if you could like and subscribe, if you ring that bell, you know what it means. That'd be awesome.